What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. So I want to use this week's video to talk about how to set up your space when you really don't have a lot of space to work with. Typically we are vending in a 10 by 10 tent outdoor space, but when we do markets that are on the inside, normally those spaces are 8 feet or less. And so today I just want to share some of the tips that I use to maximize on table space, floor space, and make sure that you can display your products and any decorative pieces in a way that is still engaging and attractive to potential customers. So with that said, enjoy the video. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to ask them in the comments. And in advance, thank y'all for watching, and I'll talk to you later. So let's talk a little bit about our display for this particular event. We had a space that was about a 6x4, so we decided to use our 6-foot table and our 4-foot table that we typically use for our checkout station. We're just sharing a space with just a couple of products. For this setup, I wanted to be able to kind of monopolize on the vertical space using the crates to add some height and some visual interest. But I also didn't want too many kind of display items on the table. So I used the table itself and just did some flat lays. I think just the mixed use of, height and flat lays and then kind of things in a cubby really just kind of gives the table enough interest so that it doesn't feel overwhelming. I bought my crates from Home Depot, but I know that other vendors have shared with me that they've gotten theirs from Hobby Lobby. I'm not a fan of Hobby Lobby, but if you can find them there, that's great. I also use acrylic tumblers to store like pens and highlighters. I use the tumblers, and I also use like the acrylic whiskey glasses. I also like to decorate my checkout space. So I have like this kind of bush floral display that I tuck inside of the crate, a smaller crate. And then like during the fall and the winter, I will change up the flowers to do kind of something else that's kind of on theme with the season. For signage, since we're not using our tent, I use our portable tripod and another sign that we can place on the tripod. As far as table coverings, I am not a fan of the typical vendor table coverings that hook underneath your table legs. I use dining linens. I think it adds more personality to the space. I've mentioned before that we will always have anywhere from 6 to 8 different tablecloths, just because I like the texture, I like the different prints, and it just works with our overall display. As far as my books, our workbooks, our notebooks, our desk pads, I use plate holders. And so I will use kind of the pegged plate holders, and then I use like a metal and a bamboo plate holder. I think, again, just trying to get creative with how you display products without necessarily doing something that everybody is doing or doing it in the same way, even if you have similar materials at your setup. This is kind of the space that we were in. Luckily, all the vendors that were slated to be here didn't show up. Otherwise, I think it would have posed more of a challenge. But this is our setup. Again, we ended up using our 6-foot table, which is longer and the legs are static, and our 4-foot table, which the legs are expandable. The other thing we did was add lighting. I have some rechargeable bulbs, and so I just kind of have a couple of hooks that come with the bulbs. So I use some of the bulbs underneath some of our shelving, and then I use this one in a lampshade, a small lampshade that I have, and I just have the lampshade upside down, and I just have the bulb itself sitting inside of the shade. So hopefully y'all were able to hear me earlier, and I'll do another walk around of our final setup. But we are at Highwire Brewery or Highwire Brewing. One of the words in the English language that I struggle to say is brewery. But anyway, so today's setup is a little bit different because we have a very small space. We are in a 6x4, and luckily for us, we have 2 6-foot tables and our 4-foot table, which serves as our checkout station when we do our youth setup. So today we just have one of those 6-foot tables and then our 4-foot table. And so I didn't put all of our items out either, obviously because of the limited space that we have. But, I think we were able to configure the L shape. Again, I said it before, the L shape is the go-to configuration simply because it's the most versatile. It's really the one that will fit in kind of most spaces. Typically, even if you have like a 4x6, right, which is what we're working with today, you could do your 6-foot table and then kind of finagle whatever smaller display tables or shelves or things like that you have in the rest of the space. So I'm using part of the 4-foot table as display and the entire 6-foot table, and so as a result I didn't use all of our items. I didn't put everything out because I didn't want it to look too crazy and cluttered. But there's also a couple of things happening out here today. There's like a blood drive, there's the puppy pride parade, so they've got a little backdrop for people to take pictures with their dogs. It's super cute. But again, we don't typically do breweries. I think we've done one, literally I think we did one like 2 years ago, and it was, it wasn't the best. I didn't enjoy it as much. So we'll see how today goes. We're still, and I feel like this might be the end of our testing out new markets for the summer. We're heading into September, and our weekends are locked in from a lot of the familiar events that we do. So there's one vendor here that I know, and that's Mercy by KT. She is our jeweler. She's one of my favorite jewelers. I have some jewelry of hers that my husband bought me for Christmas, and I absolutely love it. So maybe I'll get by there today. She's just down the way. But people are starting to kind of trickle in. My husband went to get him some breakfast. I don't know what else they're doing over there. They're setting up. They're not quite open. It's 12 o'clock. So this event runs from 12 to 5 today. It's a Sunday afternoon, no humidity. So I'm hoping that people will come out. We'll see. But yeah, for the most part, that's kind of what we're doing. We'll walk around again. I'll give you a quick scan of the vendors that are in here. it ended up being rescheduled. It was originally it was scheduled a different day, a different time, and a different venue. The venue that it was originally scheduled for and that we were all planning and excited to go to, they abruptly announced on social media that they were closing. So I felt bad for this host because she had to scramble at the last minute to try to find a new place. But I believe that most of the vendors that were, part of the original schedule backed out, after the reschedule. And people have a right to not want to, do the switch or whatever. But we ended up leaving early because no one came out. It was like crickets. There was another event happening, like a pasta making class or something. That event had people walking through this venue, but they were not, they didn't care that there was a market going on. And it was really a very small market. So that's why it seemed empty. Because it was empty, and it just didn't turn out to be a good day. But this is the end of our testing out new markets for the summer, and so we are back with our regularly scheduled program for the fall, and I'm excited about it.
Hey guys.
Do it again.
Hey guys.
Well, guys, if you stayed to the end of this video, thank you so much as usual. Make sure you leave me a comment and let me know that you were here. And let me know, what do you think about our vendor displays and some of the tips that I shared. If they're applicable and you can use them, definitely let me know. And if you've got other tips that you think that I could benefit from, leave them in the comments because I definitely want to hear them. I'm gonna end this video right here. Don't forget to, again, leave me a comment, like the video, share it with somebody who's interested in markets. And if you've been watching our videos and you haven't subscribed, then definitely subscribe. And I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.
More than good, kinda great, even on the bad days, I think